Okay, so for the homework, what you're going to do is you're going to start out basically, I've taken the code that I made before and I've just kind of reduced it down. So for the one where you're doing the guessing, basically this is the skeleton that you're going to have right here. You can call this role, and this time you can leave that role and that role, that's fine. So first of all, you are not entering or not allowing the user to enter in anything like guess a number between 1 and 100. That's going to happen here. Now remember, I want you to think about this now. You've been given a high here and a low. And what is the range that I ask you to do the number with? So think about where you get that. Remember we talked about it last time? This is a method. So look for something that calls this method right here, and it should be pretty easy because it's right in front of you. And think about how you would have that send a value of anything between 1 and 100. Now, what you're going to do is with that, you're going to use your scanner right here to allow the user to input 7 guesses. And so this isn't very efficient the way this program works. In the real world, you'd use loops and things like that, which we'll talk about in future classes. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to have 7 guesses. And for each guess, you're going to have this scanner take some information in. And it's going to be best in the form of an integer because your number is between 1 and 100. Then right after they take the information in, you're going to use if statements. And my recommendation is, if you can figure out a better way, by all means do it. But my recommendation is that for every time you enter something, you use 3 if statements. And you're going to put the if statements right after they've entered in their input, their guess on the number. So what you do is the first if statement, or and you can do this in any order, but for me, the first if statement, you're going to take a look and see if they have guessed the number right off the bat. And if that's the case, you can just write they won, and at that point, you would manually close the program. In the real world, there are other things that you'd have to do, but for this, if they guess it on the first one, just say you win. The second time around, or the second if statement, would check to see if the guess was larger than what the actual number was. And then at that point, you'd say, hey, try again, guess a little bit lower. And then the third if statement would be checking to see if you were lower, and you would tell the user to guess higher. And then what you do is you would take another, that my scan, and take another, the same, the guess number 2 basically, and say, hey, guess again. And same thing, those 3 if statements. You guessed it, higher or lower. And then do that for 7 total guesses. You're going to find that quite often after you're done with this, you should be able to guess what that number is after the 7th guess. Not all 100% of the time. It should be pretty high. If you're having problems with it, just let me know. And it's pretty simple. But again, keep this. Use create a variable to hold your scan and just say something like first guess, if, and I told you what the if statements be. If they didn't get it the first time, second guess, if, and so on. And you're going to put those ifs, by the way, under here, not up here, under here. Because if you do the ifs up here, it won't know what it's trying to guess, because the way programs work is top down in each of these methods. So it would never know what the role was. So let's put this, just to make it easier, we're going to put that up there. And then you put your if statements, all if statements there. And like I say in the assignment, it should be like 21 if statements. Is it the most efficient way? Most definitely not. But for this assignment, that's how you're going to do it. Let me know if you have questions.